last year you traveled all over the world taking part in ice swimming competitions. This year you're preparing to swim the Channel solo. So I think the best place to start is to give a big old middle finger to all the ice bath evangelists out there that think they're hard for sitting in it for three or so minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're doing competitive distance-related competitions in 5 degrees or cooler, aren't you? So how did you find that as a competitive pursuit? Because it's one thing to swim quickly in normal water or temperate water, shall we say. It's another thing to do it in 4 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, honestly, mate, it was very hard. I'll be honest, it was really hard. So I was one of those ice bath people that I just bought an ice bath and I thought, I'm hardcore, this is great. And I still appreciate just sitting in an ice bath, because for some people, it starts their day off really well. It's like mentally, you just feel good about yourself. You've got a little skip in your step. You're kind of on your high horse.
It's an easy win.
It's an easy win.
Yeah.
Because
it's an easy access point to a hard win.
Yeah. It's not easy when you're in there, but at the end of the day, once you do it enough, you realize it's not the hardest thing in the world. But if that helps you, which it does for me, and it did for me, like, that's absolutely great. So I love that. There's a massive difference between sitting in an ice bath for between 0 and 5 minutes or 5 and 10 minutes and swimming as fast as you possibly can in water that is just as cold, when you're physically moving through it, where the warmth within your internal organs is being sucked out by the cold. Your muscles are seizing up. It's a completely different ballgame. So I got shocked, because I went to my first ice swimming competition, which is a regular swimming competition in water underneath 5 degrees. I had been training in the pool like 2 or 3 times, maybe at most. And I've been sitting in the ice bath for like 3 minutes thinking, I'm going to be fine. To then go in, having your full face submerged in the freezing cold, which you're an open water swimmer, your breath goes away, and it's absolutely horrible. And it's very difficult to get that under control and just control the stress levels of your body freaking out. At the same time, kicking your legs as hard as you can and spinning your arms as hard as you can. It was like really, really bad. So I got a big shock. First ice competition I did, I was thinking, all right, I need to start training differently. So then I had to start training in the cold, like properly swimming at pace in the cold. And it's like I don't know enough about it yet to understand exactly what happens physiologically in your body, but something to do with trying to circulate blood round to your muscles, because you're using them, because you're racing. At the same time, your body knowing, I need to keep you warm, and the races that I was doing, I think the longest I did was like a 250 meter race. So at the end of the day, you're not going to lose too much core temperature, but your body is first, it's fight or flight. It's like, right, we need to keep you warm. But at the same time, you're asking it to pump blood to your quads and to your cat. Like, it was just like the cold just got me, man. But such a new way to experience swimming for me, which is super exciting. And I think that it may become a really popular sport. I'm not sure. Will I do it again? Again, I'm not sure. But it was just, it was fusing swimming for competition and trying something completely new, like the ice, I think was really special. But also I think like the journey that I went on with that was so great for me, because I was doing a lot of my training through the winter, which, as we know already, is depressing and it's cold. I'm like, well, if it's going to be cold, I may as well just make the most of it.
Lean into
cold.
it,
Lean into it. So, I was forcing myself to go to the sea or to my lake or to just in the ice bath, like as regularly as I could. Just that, whether you're doing that for a reason or if that's just something you do, like, that's great, because we all know the benefits of doing that mentally and physically. It's actually just good for you. So the fact that I was having to do that as part of my training, like through those cold winter months, made me have a really healthy time during that. And at the end of it, I got to go away and I do a race, which we all know I absolutely love doing. So I think that it took me on a really nice journey exploring ice swimming. It's blooming hard.
Wasn't there a competition? It was in Europe somewhere, wasn't it? Where you went, you travelled, you competed, you did well. Lots of people did well. But none of the records counted because it was like 5.1 degrees.
Yeah, so that was
a punch, the kick in the teeth. That is a stamping on the head. It's
a very new sport. They're still figuring out things, because like a lot of the pools they use, they just let them get cold and they hope that they stay cold, because water can change quite a lot. So from like the difference between like 3.5 degrees to like 5.5 degrees can happen in a day. If there's a slight change in the weather over a weekend, that can change. So it has to be under 5. But the difference between swimming in 4.5 degree water and 1 degree water is like, in our minds now, it's like, yeah, cold's cold, but there's proper cold, then there's pretty cold, and then there's cold. So, you want to get it right. So it'll probably turn into the way that they're doing it, and they'll actually regulate the pool temperature. They'll have like the opposite of a heater, essentially. So keeping it cold, not freezing it over, but not keeping it too warm, because there's a lot. Yeah, like we did go there, and it was getting warm every day, and we're like, oh no, is it going to get too warm for it to count, kind of thing. But it's a brand new sport. I've enjoyed kind of being a part of it. Whether I do it again, I don't know.
Yeah, having had the sensation of feeling like somebody's sitting on my head whilst swimming with the cold.
Yeah.
I think the coldest I've been is 4.5, and that was in a wetsuit.
Yeah,
but with my face exposed.
Yeah,
and just that gets the cold into you.
It does,
and it's just horrific. I think I managed 1.2k, and then I was like, fuck this, I'm done. Like, I kind of eased into it, but I could just feel there was a point where I felt everything just sort of cooling internally. I was like,
yeah,
this isn't nice.
And what I really liked about that as well is like, you learned a little bit about your body then, like how you responded to the cold. Like sometimes I'll get out and I'll be like super dazed, and even just from an open water swim, I sometimes feel like that. But
it's dangerous, isn't it? Training for
dangerous.
it. Yeah.
So what I really enjoyed learning about was like how my body was coping with the cold. So going from sitting in an ice bath to swimming in the cold to like racing in the cold, like thinking about the nutrition and the state of your body before and after, and how you can regulate that, and like what is the best way for me to warm up, what's the best way for me to stay warm during my swim. And there's like a lot of it is to do with the nutrition and the fuel you're putting in your body, and just your body composition as well. So it was all like brand new to me, which I absolutely loved. And I am nowhere near an expert or anything when it comes to like ice swimming. I'm one of the few people that have maybe done it to a competitive element, but there's, if I was to get good at it, I'd have to do it quite a few more seasons, because you have to just understand how your body reacts in the cold. It's very humbling, but it's something you can work on, something you can get quite good at, I think.
Did you do 100 meters? What was there? Was there?
Yeah. I did 100 meters. I did it and there's weird rules. So you don't go from a dive, you go from a push. You can't go kicking underwater. You got to come straight up. Don't really know why. You can't do a tumble turn. You got to do a touch turn. So those little things would impact the time anyway, because you're not as fast. But at the time, I went like 55 seconds, and my best time in a pool was like 49. So it's like a 6-second difference. Okay. So
could you? What would you do in a pool now?
So I didn't actually. That's a good question, because just a few weeks after I did the 55 from a push in the cold, I went 52 from a dive. So it might not be that much difference.
Interesting.
Because that's like 3 seconds. But if you take in the fact that I had a dive in the pool and a tumble turn, and I was maybe in slightly better shape as well, I don't know if the cold really plays that much. Mentally, it does. And you feel like you can't feel the connection with the water doesn't feel the same. But if anything, it might just give you a kick up the ass, and you might swim a bit faster in the cold.